Namaste and welcome to this exciting new episode of Satology Debunking Mythology. Sat means truth, Logos means a study or science, Satology means a science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means a science of fake lie imagination or simply said, fake story. And the audacity of the Western academics led by Max Muller, who was a very uneducated Sanskrit guy, and his you can tell the uneducated means that because all whatever he wrote was a garbage, throw it out in the dustbin. And Will Durant says it, everybody else, Americans say it. Mark Twain refutes him completely. Now, most of the Hindus today, they majority of them, including American Hindus and Americans, they follow Max Muller's version of history. They question everything. And I put a very famous quote of mine that when somebody says, let's be honest, and after that the garbage follows, exactly true. I said it on Rajdeep Sardesai, is India Conclave discussion. So we are supposed to be honest all the time, not just once. So I have a very, very special guest. And before I bring him on the screen, I want to show his book. It's in Hindi and English also available. Bharatiya Gyan Ka Khajana. And also he's written other books also and published in India. So let us welcome Sri Prashant Pol.
Namaskar.
So Prashantji, see the one thing which comes to my mind, Klebyam Masma Gama Partha. So there are multiple references in Bhagavad Gita and in the Indian ancient scriptures, Mahabharata, Ramayana, which are satology, not mythology, itihas. Now, when we say our itihas is mentioned so clearly that every person who follows Sanatan Dharma or claims to be a Sanatan Dharma follower has to protect himself first before he protects. If you cannot protect yourself, like in an airline also, when the airline hostess always announces, put your mask on your face first, then to your child, right? If you can't protect yourself, how are we talking about Vishwa Guru right now? We can't even protect anyone else. And sometimes, we are considered the most peaceful philosophy in the whole world. But I was asking all those, I've been involved in the lot of what is happening in Bangladesh. I've been asking, all of you are inviting iftar parties. Okay. So you are inviting wolves in your house. They checked you out and then they kidnapped your women, 12 to 20 women, and killed 7 or 8 people in the same temples which organize iftar parties. Okay. So my point is, if we're not able to protect ourselves, how will we protect others?
Very true.
So what is your view on that?
Yeah, very true. As you rightly said, that even our dharma says that if you cannot protect yourself, if you cannot protect the God, how can the God can protect you? So that is the very first requirement of a dharma, that you have to protect yourself, then you have to protect the society, the samaj, the rashtra, the nation. And hence, all our God, they all have shastra in their hands, all God, including the Durga, the Chandi, the Kali, the Ram, Kodandadhari Ram, we always say that, Shastradhari Ram, who killed the Ravana, the Asura Shakti. And so we have to come forward and to protect ourselves, and at the same time to really counter such attacks. That is required today. Otherwise, Hindus will be beaten up all parts of the world. And
See,
that is wrong.
American Constitution, Indian Constitution is a copy of American Constitution. All of us know. And American Constitution has come from the articles from Iroquois Confederation, Iroquois nations, based on my last book, Gold, Glory, and God. I commented there. So every constitution of the world gives a right to their citizens to protect themselves. See, police, you cannot have so much large, not possible to maintain, not possible. So the citizens have to protect themselves, and citizens have to be on the lookout for such elements before they strike. And in America, the law is, you are there's a Supreme Court versus Justice over there. There's a court case. It's written in one of my articles. I'll share that as a link in one of the videos in this video. And in that, the court says that the police is not responsible for your protection. Police is responsible to maintain law and order. Means after the incident has happened, they'll come there to make sure no further incidents happens. But at the time of incident, they cannot practically not be possible. So, but we have been told to depend on the police, the colonial police, as the police is the god again. Bhagwan ban gaye police. How wrong is that? It doesn't even justify our scriptures, our shastra, doesn't justify our Mahabharata, Ramayana, Itihas, and also Maharana Pratap, Chola, Chalukya, so many kingdoms we have. So what is your view on that? You're a historian, so I can ask you that question.
No, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. No, as you rightly said, and you have you mentioned the names like Maharana Pratap, Chola, and even Raja Chhatrapati Shivaji. So about Chhatrapati Shivaji, they say that agar Shivaji na hote, to sunnat hote sabki. This means that if Shivaji would not have been there, probably this entire part of that the Maharashtra and that central India and all, that probably might be converted into Islam forcefully. So that's why our dharma has always said, and very, very loud and clear, the message was very, very, very loud and clear, that you have to protect yourself, you have to protect your God, and then only God will protect you. So if you cannot protect yourself, your society, your samaj, and the rashtra, that's nation, then how can, as you rightly said, then how can you protect others? And that's why unitedly we have to counter all these attacks on Hindus worldwide. If we cannot do it, it's a wrong in our part. We are not following the duty of what dharma has said us. And that's why to follow the dharma, we have to be unitedly protect ourselves. That is a need of an hour.
No, Satology will soon start the Satology surveys now, because we do not trust Pew surveys, Pew research. So according to our information, our analysis, Hinduism is the fastest growing religion on the planet in terms of gaining new followers. And
Absolutely.
Hindus are not preaching. Hindus तो बोलते हैं प्रचार नहीं करते. But
Yeah.
without अगर प्रचार करने के बिना everyone is taking up Bhagavad Gita. So
Yes.
there's something credit goes to Vyasdev and Ganeshji actually, because they have written in so beautifully, and actually they've written the truth, not just to popularity. There were no bookstores earlier, but
Yes, sir.
on the basis of original writing by Ganeshji, this is spreading on the basis. People are willingly coming forward. That's what I was telling you. I have so many prominent guests today who are putting Ganesh tattoo and we're hiding it up. And so the point which I'm saying, तो हम लोगों ने तो गलत समझ लिया, प्रचार नहीं करते. But if these incidents happen, what will the new follower think? And I'm talking for their favor. If Hindus cannot protect themselves, what kind of philosophy is that? We are just boasting Ram ne kiya, Chhatrapati ne kiya, but we are not producing new Chhatrapati. We are not encouraging our new children to fight like Chhatrapati.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, the same thing happened. If you see that, how the entire Southeast Asia became the, part of that became the Muslim or the other religions. This is because when India, that time the Hindustan could not protect its own nation by and large. That's why the followers of Hinduism in, say, Indonesia or Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Philippines, and all, and entire Southeast Asia, they started, sort of there is a disconnect from them and the Hindu religion. So yes, you are right that if the message goes that Hindus cannot protect themselves, probably the new followers which are coming, and that's why the point in my today's topic, that the global Ganesha, that lot of new devotees are coming, and for them global Ganesha is an idol. That will not happen if the message goes that Hindus can't protect themselves. So I agree with you. Yes, that will happen.
coming back to our today's topic, then Vaishvik Ganesha versus global Ganesha.
Yes.
So I totally understand why you written the topic, why you chose the topic, and Ganesh, Shiva, and Krishna and Ram. These are the four most prominent deities from Hindu culture, which
Yes.
is all over the world. In fact, I know I live in San Diego, and just we are very close by. We have Mexican border, and so many people put Shiva tattoos. So many people put Ganesh tattoos, and they never been to India. I said, where did you get it from? In fact, my hairdresser had written
Mhm.
Om here, and
Oh.
I said, and his name was uh, Ishkael, yeah, Ishkael. So I said, so Ishkael Om. I just joked to him, Ishkael Om. He said, you're the first person to recognize that.
Ah.
Everyone else calls me number three because it looks like three. It's number
Yeah,
three.
yeah, yeah.
So, but this is what is going on. So very prominent. So Vignaharta, Vignakarta, like we call various names to Ganesh ji. He is the
Yes.
author of Bhagavad Gita. The scribe of Bhagavad Gita. He's the scribe of Mahabharata. So what is the difference you see in these two terms? And you can take it from here.
Yeah. Okay. As you rightly said that there are mainly like Bhagwan Shankar, that Shiva, Ganesha, Ram, Krishna. They have gone, I mean, almost to the entire world. But more prominent is Deva Ganesha. Deva Ganesha, the term I'm using because in the Indonesian people, they can't say, they won't talk only Ganesha. When you say Ganesha, they are a bit, not comfortable. They say, no, Deva Ganesha. Deva has to be prefix before Ganesha. So Deva Ganesha. So Deva Ganesha is found almost every part of the world. Reason is when Indian mariners, Indian traders went to the world, and as we all are aware, and I'm repeating in most of my talks that India was the leader in economy, in business worldwide. As various figures are shown there, that in the first century, Indian contribution, the world economy was one third, around 32.8%. Professor Angus Medicine has given the entire all these figures and all with proper proof, proper supporting all the documents and all. And in 10th century, 11th century, when we reach, it was still 29 point something, around 30%. When Britishers came, it was still around 22.3% or something. Point here is that because of that, Indian traders, Indian mariners went to the all parts of the world. It was the Indians, it was the Hindu who have almost, I could say, the found the world. And wherever they went, because Deva Ganesha is the god of uh, it's called Vignaharta. This means that it avoids any obstacle. It fights with any obstacle. So no obstacle will be there if you pray, if you worship if you worship Ganesha. And that's why they all took themselves along with them the Ganesha uh, idol to all parts of the world. That's number one. Number two is that Ganesha is also termed or also worshipped as the god of intelligence. So that's why to get a buddhi, it's called buddhi data. This means it's give me the some intelligence, and that's why as a Vignaharta and buddhi data, this Ganesha literally went to all parts of the world. If we start from the country like Japan, Japan is a country wherein the world first sees the sun and all. So that's why the far eastern country, that way we can say, in Japan there are 243 temples of Ganesha, Ganapati. 243 temples. Ganesha came in Japan with the Bauddha bhikkhus, Bauddha bhikshus, Bauddha monks. So both the monks, along with them, they brought the Ganesha, and that's why the Ganesha temples are there. In Tokyo, there's a place called Asakusa. In Asakusa, there is a Matsuchi Maya Shodan temple. It's a very large temple. This temple is built in the year 601. In the 7th century, beginning of 7th century, in the year 601, this temple was built. This temple is Ganesha temple. Ganesha is basically known in Japan as Vinayak Ten, Ganabachi, Ganawa, Ganahatti, and like that. But most common name in Japan for Ganesha is Kangi Ten. It's a very popular name. So most of Japanese are aware about this Kangi Ten, and Kangi Ten temples, Kangi Ten statues, idols you'll find across the Japan. And many temples are not just temples. Even today, people worship, people pray, and all the rituals are happening in those temples, and that's most important. Near Hiroshima, there's a temple called Daisho In. This Daisho In temple of Ganesha was built in the year 806, again the beginning of the 9th century. In Japan, you will find that two Ganeshas, the idol of two Ganeshas together. This is something like Nandikeshwar concept in our Puran. There is Nandikeshwar concept wherein two Ganeshas are shown, and this is called Sashin Kangiten. So Sashin Kangiten is also very famous in Japan. After Japan, if we go straight away to Latin America, and Latin America is one of the farthest country from India. And surprisingly, Latin America, we have found that lot of places existence of Ganesha is there. 200 years back, around 250 years back, there was a great anthropologist, Alexander von Humboldt. Alexander von Humboldt. He wrote a lot of books and all. He wrote, and I quote, South American culture was influenced by Hindus. He has very specifically wrote Hindus. When he says South American culture, he meant to say the culture before the Spanish and Portuguese people have invaded South America. So this Maya, Inca culture, the Aztec empire, when they destroyed this Aztec empire, when they destroyed this Maya culture, before that, the Maya culture, the Inca culture was having a Ganesha as their god. They call it elephant-headed god. I mean, these days people call it as the elephant-headed god. Surprisingly, there is no elephant found in South America. There is no elephant found in North America. Elephants are found in Africa and Asia, but in South America, this elephant-headed god, that is Ganesha, will find that a lot of Ganesha statues, Ganesha idol, Ganesha temples are there at various places. Grime R. Kersley. Grime R. Kersley is a name of an Australian architect. He's basically by profession architect, but he's more interested in the archaeology and ancient knowledge. He wrote a lot of books, particularly his main expertise is in Inca and Maya culture. His books are like Inca origin, Maya genesis, and all. He has mentioned very categorically, he has said that Ganesha is basically from, I mean, these people worship Ganesha, and this Ganesha has come specifically from India. And very categorically, as I said, that very categorically he has said. And let me quote his words. And I quote him, in considering the transfer of specific aspects of myth and iconography from Asia and India in particular, the god good luck, Ganesha is considered always a good luck, Vignaharta and good luck, trade and commercial relationships, who received the adoration and propitiation from long distance traders and mariners, among other devotees, was Ganesha. this deity was usually depicted in anthropomorphic form with an elephant head, and he is unusually depicted in identical forms in Central America among the Maya. Very clearly. Not only him, he has further written, quote, Inca themselves appear to have preserved their origins from the Aryans of India, unquote. So not only him, there are a lot of people who studied Maya and Inca culture deeply. They have mentioned that the Inca and Maya culture were influenced by Hindu culture. And naturally therein, Ganesha idol was there. It's but natural, god of good luck, as I said, that the god of intelligence, god of good luck and all. So we'll find that Lord Ganesha is there. And in Mexico, for example, in Mexico, Diego Rivera is there. In Diego Rivera, there is a Ganesha Shankara temple. In Mexico itself, there is a place called Veracruz. Veracruz, the idol of the statue of Ganesh Bhagwan was found. And as you rightly said, that there are a lot of people in Mexico or in Latin America who have a lot of craze about Bhagwan Shankar, Shiva, and Ganesh and all. So you will find that in Latin America, people are so crazy about Ganesha that a lot of resorts, a lot of apartments are in the name of Deva Ganesha. In Mexico, there is a place called Tulum. There is Tulum town, small town, not big, Tulum town. In Tulum, there is a resort called Casa Ganesha Tulum. Casa Ganesha Tulum. In Sayurita, again in Mexico, Sayurita, there is a apartment, a big apartment, which is on the banks of big ocean. It's called Palappa Ganesha Amazing Ocean View. This is the name of the apartment. There's only few examples I've given, but if you search, you'll find that in Mexico, not only in Mexico, even in Honduras, even in Chile, even in Brazil, even in Argentina, Peru, everywhere in the entire Latin America, we will find that there is a great existence of Deva Ganesha is found. The old statues are there, and even today, people are more, like to follow Deva Ganesha. So in South America also we'll find that yes, Deva Ganesha is there, which is farthest country, wherein direct influence of Indians or Hindu people couldn't find, but still it is there. So yes, as I said, that the part of the entire globally, Bhagwan Ganesh is basically seen. If I come to the countries which are neighboring countries to India, let's take an example of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka was once upon a time considered as a part of India that way. In Sri Lanka, the Ganapati or Ganesha is called Pillayar or Ganadevi. These two names by which Ganesha is known in Sri Lanka. And even Sri Lankan government is feeling proud to say, yes, we are the devotees of Ganesha. Last year, in the year 2020, in 22nd August, when the first wave of Corona was yet to really vanish. So on 27th August, in the beginning of this Ganesh festival, Sri Lankan High Commissioner in England has performed a Ganesha Puja in Sri Vel Murugan Temple in London. And the video of this Ganesha Puja, the photographs of this Ganesh Puja are clearly displayed on the foreign ministry's website of government of Sri Lanka. So they feel proud that yes, we are the devotees of Sri Lanka, of Deva Ganesha. So this shows that how Ganesha has an influence on Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is around 74% of Sinhalese and 18% of Tamils. So naturally Tamil are Hindus, so they follow Deva Ganesha, that is but natural. So naturally, the northern part of Sri Lanka, which is Anuradhapuram, Jaffna, Battikolawa, Trincomalee, and Kilinochchi and all, we'll find a lot of Ganesh temples are there. Lot of Ganesh temples. That's understandable. But the southern part, the central and the southern part, which is more prominently of Sinhali population, generally Sinhalese are Buddha, they follow the Buddha religion. But even in that southern part and the central part of Sri Lanka, we'll find that a lot of Ganesh temples are there. In Sinhali language, there is a Ganadevi Halla. It's a book called Ganadevi Halla, and a lot of Ganesha Stuti is there in that book. In South Sri Lanka, there is a temple called Dambula Gold Temple. It's also called Dambula Caves Temple. It's in the caves and all. Dambula Gold Temple. And therein you will find that a huge Ganesh temple is there. Near Colombo, I mean 200 kilometers from Colombo, there is called Katragama Temple. Again, a big Deva Ganesha temple. So Sri Lanka is basically also following Deva Ganesha in a big way. And then when we go to China, as I said that the Indian traders used to carry their own god along with them. It is but natural. And naturally, while bringing the god to the various destinations, this Deva Ganesha was a natural choice, because this Deva Ganesha is a good god of good luck. It's god of Vignaharta, which basically eliminates all the obstacles. And it's basically a god of intelligence. And that's why Ganesha, Deva Ganesha, was carried as a god to almost all the countries wherein they used to go for the trade purpose, for commercial purpose, for business purpose and all. China was naturally one of them. And India has a very strong links with China thousands of years back. So in a Fujian province, a place called Quanzhou, there is a Quanzhou city. In Quanzhou city, there are 20 Hindu temples are there. They all were built in the year 685, in the end of almost 7th century, 685. During the Teg dynasty, there was a Teg dynasty ruling in China. That time these temples were built, wherein the Ganesha temples are also there. In Gansu province in China, there is Tunhuyang temple, Tunhuyang. Therein, the Ganesha, a big Ganesha idol, is with Kartikeya. Kartikeya is Ganesha's brother. So this Kartikeya and Ganesha is there in this Gansu province, Tunhuyang temple. Tibet is now part of China, but earlier Tibet was not a part of China. Tibet was a separate country. In Tibet, Ganesha influence is there. Almost everywhere. We'll find a lot of Ganesha statues, Ganesha idols, Ganesha temples. They call it Maharakta, or they call it Vinayak Ganesh. In Tibet, Ganpati is called Vinayak Ganesh or Arya Mahaganapati. Robert Brown is basically an historian. He wrote a book, and that book is quite interesting. Those who would like to follow Deva Ganesha, they may read this book. It's a nice book. The book name is Ganesha, Study of an Asian God. It's a good book. Ganesha, Study of an Asian God, written by Robert Brown. So, in this book, he has written that in Kagyur tradition of that overall Buddha parampara in Tibet, there is he has written that in Kagyur tradition, Mahatma Buddha has given the Diksha to his disciple, his very close disciple called Ananda. And this Diksha is called Ganapati Rudaya Mantra. Ganapati Rudaya is heart mantra. Ganapati Rudaya Mantra, or it's also called Arya Ganapati Mantra. And because of that, it says that because Mahatma Buddha himself has given this Arya Ganapati Mantra or Ganapati Rudaya Mantra, That's why the Ganapati or Vinayak or Ganesh, Bhagwan Ganesh, is uh, uh, it's basically, we'll find that in wherever the Buddha stoop is there, Buddha temple is there, Ganesh temple, small temple or Ganesh statue is always there. That's why Buddha, along with Buddha temple, along with the Buddha religion, Ganesh also went to various parts of the world, particularly the countries wherein the Buddha religion has a lot of influence. Therein we'll find that Ganesh temples are always there. Like Mongolia. Mongolia has a lot of Buddha influence. Mongolia has only 3.2 million people are there. And Mongolia surprisingly has a lot of Hindu influence. They're all their names, even the names of that every day, like Adityavar, they call it Aditya. To Tuesday, they call it Angarak. In Sanskrit, we call it Angaraki Chaturthi or something. They call it Angarak, and like that, all the 7 names are are very similar to the Sanskrit names of the 7 days in a week, like that. So their national flag, they called it Swayambhu. Swayambhu, their national flag, like that. So point here is that a lot of Hindu influence is there in Mongolia, place like Mongolia. And Mongolia naturally has a lot of Ganesh temples are there. Various parts of Mongolia. Mongolia is a very large country relatively. Few people are, only 3.2 million people are there. So they also worship Deva Ganesha. My point here is that Ganesha is basically, if you go to various parts of the world, you will find that Deva Ganesha is always there. Yes.
Thank you, Prashantji, and what a wonderful global Ganesh concept you explained. Just like global Durga is also there.
Yeah, global
everywhere.
Durga. I mean, I have mentioned only few countries, but there are other countries also, like Cambodia, Indonesia, Thailand. I mean, there are so many countries. For example, now let me take this say Cambodia. Now we all know that Cambodia is basically a country with lot of Hindu influence. Their Hindu influence is there. I mean, there's the only country in the world who very proudly carries the Hindu temple on its national flag. The only country in the world. That is, and that the Hindu temple is the largest place of worship in the world. That is Angkor Wat. This Angkor Wat is a temple, Hindu temple, which is largest place of worship. So this was, I mean, this is carried in the national flag of Cambodia. This Cambodia naturally has lots of Hindu temples, and almost most of the temples do have Bhagwan Ganesha is there. And I mean, Angkor Wat is there, but at the same time, on the banks of Mekong River, there is Kampong Cham. In this city, those temple is there, which is very large, huge Ganesha statue, Ganesha Murti is there. On the banks of Phnom Penh River also, we'll find that large statue of Ganesha and the Ganesha temple is there. There are a lot of Ganesha statues on the 7th and 8th century. We find in various museums in Cambodia are there. In Cambodia and in Vietnam, there are, Cham people are there. Cham is basically a minority, a community defined in Cambodia and Vietnam and Laos. These Cham people are nothing but Hindu people. They follow all the Hindu rituals. They are basically Hindu devotees. They are the Hindu people. So these Cham people, they celebrate the Ganesh festival on the Ganesh Chaturthi as per the Hindu Panchang. I mean, there's a regular practice every year in Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. These Cham people celebrate this Ganesh festival. Ganesh celebrations are there. Even this Brahmadesh, that's Myanmar, we call it Myanmar. This Myanmar also has a lot of Ganesh devotees, and these Ganesh devotees are not only Hindus, but but the Ganesh devotees are local, both the people, local Chinese, local Burmese people. They also worship Lord Ganesha. I mean, there are the Indian who celebrate this Ganesh festival every year on this Gandamar ballroom and all. That festival is anyway there. But in Yangon, in Yangon, the largest city of Myanmar, on the 36th street. 36th street. This is a very ancient and very huge Ganesh temple is there. And therein, even the Ganesh statue is very huge and around 10 feet. And a lot of devotees, they worship this. And there are a lot of Gorkha people are there in Myanmar, a lot of Gorkha. And these Gorkha people, they themselves have this Gorkha a community has more than 250 temples of their own. And most of them have Ganesha statue, Ganesha idol in that temple. Then in the 19th century, in the mid of 19th century, lot of Indians went to various countries as laborers on a contract labor, like Mauritius, like Fiji, like Suriname, like Trinidad, Tobago. These are the countries wherein the Indian workers went as a laborers. And because of contract labor, they used to call it girmitiya. They themselves call it, in a Bihari, they call it as a girmitiya. So wherever the girmitiyas have gone, now they become, after so many years, they become very strong and very solid, a community of that country. They never created any problem in the country. Rather, they supported the country. They had seen that how the country will grow, how the country will prosper. But they all, along with that, they carry their God, they carry their culture, they carry their traditions, they carry their religion. That's the Hindu religion. So, in the entire world, Mauritius is the only country which gives national holiday on the Ganesh Chaturthi. It inspires the people to celebrate the Ganesh festival on the Ganesh Chaturthi. There are a lot of Marathi speaking people are there in Mauritius who celebrate Ganpati Utsav, Ganesh Utsav for all the 10 days, or somewhere it's a 1.5 day celebrations are there in Mauritius. Similarly, a country like Fiji. Fiji is near Australia, the far east side. It's a very small country. In this country, there are two main islands are there, Vithi land and Vanua land. In Vithi Levu and Vanua Levu, in all the places, this Ganesh festival is celebrated with a lot of enthusiasm. In Fiji, they have created a sort of an organization called All Fiji Ganesh Devotee Organizers or something like that. And the Ganesh Visarjan procession, the process, this procession is a very large one. And almost entire country celebrates this Ganesh, Chaturthi and Ganesh Visarjan festivals and all. In Nadi area, there is a Shiva Subramanyam temple. This temple is basically more, a lot of Indians are, they are devotees of this temple. Therein, a very, this Ganesh festival is celebrated in a very large way. Similar like Trinidad, Tobago, it's a part of the West Indies. Trinidad, there is a TV channel called Sankhya TV. Sankhya TV is a Hindu TV channel. And on the Sankhya TV channel, the running commentary of Ganesh immersion, that is Ganesh Visarjan procession, of that procession, that running commentary is basically run on this Sankhya TV. And people are very, people are quite crazy about this Ganesh festival. They celebrate Ganesh festival in a large way. Similarly, Suriname. Suriname is again a very small country, very small country. Even in Suriname also, we'll find that there are a lot of Hindu devotees are there, and there are the Ganesh temples, and they also celebrate, this Ganesh festival. In fact, the vice president of Suriname is very proudly say, "I am Swabhimani Hindu." So, Suriname, Tobago, Trinidad, Fiji, Mauritius, these are the countries of Girmitiya. they carry along with them their culture, their tradition, their religion. And so Ganesh festival is celebrated in a large way in these countries. The only country in the world which carries a Ganesha photo or Ganesh image on the currency note. And the country has the largest Muslim population in the world. And the country is Indonesia. And it is very interesting to know why Indonesian government has decided to print the Ganesha image on the currency note of 20,000 rupees. They also called rupees. You might be, we all are aware, probably we may recall that during the 1997, there was a great kind of, you know, point of, the business was not doing well and all. So in 1997, the local currency had a very bad shape, very bad shape. The country was not doing commercially well. And because of this, it was sort of whether the country is going to collapse or what. It's not only Indonesia, it's most of the South Asian countries. They were in a very bad shape. And the big, this thing, they call it the Mandi. And because of that, Indonesian government had decided to print Deva Ganesha's image on the currency note of 20,000 local currency, local rupees. Why? Because this is a good luck god. This is a good luck god. This is a Vignaharta god who can remove any sort of obstacle, any sort of problems. And that's what they have printed. And by, I don't know because of this or because of any other reason, but their country started performing very well. So they have a strong faith that because of Deva Ganesha, our economy was saved. And so Indonesia has the only country in the world who has printed Ganesha image on their currency note. They also have a postal stamp wherein the Ganesha Bhagwan is there. And not only Indonesia is not exception. There are 55 postal stamps are there in the world so far on Bhagwan Ganesh or Deva Ganesh. 55 postal stamps. And I think, I don't know the exact count of the countries, that how many countries have come out with these postal stamps, but definitely there are more than 16 or 17 countries who have come out with this postal stamps on Deva Ganesha. Unfortunately, India is not in this list. India has not come out with a single postal stamp on Deva Ganesha. Neither Deva Ganesha is printed on the currency notes of India. No. In India, we, I don't know, but we can't recognize Ganesha as a god of good luck and all. But Indonesia, you'll find that Bali is a Hindu dominated area. We all are aware about it. 90% people in Bali are Hindus. So they worship Ganesha, it's okay. You know, this worshipping is their way of life. Every day they go to the temple, they worship, they offer some flowers and all. And so a lot of Deva Ganesha temples are there. And they have faith that, yes, if they pray by heart with the Lord, with Deva Ganesha, then Deva Ganesha will remove all the obstacles in their life. The life will be good, and it's a good luck Bhagwan. It's good luck God. It's a god of intelligence. So they follow it. There are around 20,000 temples in Bali area alone, out of which most of temples do carry the Deva Ganesha's statue. So Ganesha is there. But the other parts, like Yogyakarta, is again another big town in Java. Java is earlier used to called Yavadvip. Yavadvip became the Java. And there is Sumatra. Sumatra, there was a this Vijay Samraj was there. Sri Vijay Samrajya. So Sri Vijay Samraj, Sri Vijay Empire was in this thing, Sumatra. Point here is that even in Muslim dominated area, there are the Ganesh temple. And recently, one Indian author who writes a good travelogue, he wrote in his book that when he went to Prambanan temple, Prambanan temple is a very, very huge temple, which can compete with the Angkor Wat. It's a very huge temple of Brahmadeva, Shankara, and Vishnu. So these three Bhagwan who basically create the world can you look after the world, and then Sanhar, Shiv, Bhagwan Shankar is basically destroy the world. That is basically the Hindu concept. So it's basically Prambanan temple is for these three gods. But along with them, there are the temple of Agasti Rushi, that sage Agasti temple is there, and more importantly, there is a huge temple of Deva Ganesha. So when this author went there was a trip from from a local school, and lot of this Indonesian girls were there in the temple. He thought that it's a Muslim country. All the girls were wearing hijab and all. So they just, for them, it's just for sake of some interest. Yes, there's some God and all, and they will go. He was surprised that these girls were offering their prayers to Deva Ganesha. And they were saying, when he was there, they were saying that Om Gam Ganpate Namaha. Om Gam Ganpate Namaha. This is a Ganesha mantra. He was very surprised. Then he asked their teacher, the lady teacher, that how come a Muslim girl wearing hijab is praying Deva Ganesha and even chanting the Hindu mantra Om Gam Ganpate Namaha. So she said, and he quoted in his book, she said, yes, we are Muslims, so what? Our heritage is Hindu heritage. This is our root. Our roots are Hindu roots. So we are proud of that. I mean, what's wrong in that? That lady teacher is asking him. So in Indonesia, which has the largest Muslim population, the world is also worshipping Ganesha in a large way. But when it comes to the, say, which country you call it as a country of Deva Ganesha, then the country is not India. The country is not even Indonesia. The country is Thailand. Earlier it used to call it Siam. This Thailand is, in real sense, is a country of Deva Ganesha. Huge Ganesh temples are there. Huge Ganesh idols are there. Huge, too huge. We will not imagine probably that so many such a huge Ganesh idols could be there. And this normal Thai people worship them. In a Bangkok, in a downtown Bangkok, there's a very important square is there. Quite quite a lot of traffic and something is there. In the middle island of that traffic square, the small temple of Deva Ganesha. So Bhagwan Ganesh temple is there, a small temple. But you will find that in a daytime, many businessmen with wearing tie and all, and many students, they go inside that island, that small temple, and they worship, they pray Deva Ganesha, just because of it's a good luck god, it's a god of wisdom and all. But they worship Ganesha. In the Ganesha in Thailand is called Phra Phikanet. So Phra Phikanet is basically a name of Ganesha. Of course, people call it Vinayak, people call it Ganesha and all, but Phra Phikanet is, by and large, people call it to the Ganesha. In Thailand, there is a province called Chachoeng Shao. Chachoeng Shao province is there. In the Chachoeng Shao province, you'll find that huge Ganesh temples are there. Huge Ganesh temples. In one, say for example, one temple wherein the Deva Ganesha is sitting on Sinhasan, this statue is 150 feet high. 150 feet high. the rat itself is double than a adult man, double than that. Around 12 to 15 feet is the height of the rat, and the Ganesha height is almost 150 feet. The total height is 150 feet. Huge. There's another statue wherein the Deva Ganesha is standing. It's in the large garden area, but it's a temple sort of. Therein, the height of this is around 100 feet. The entire this thing height of Deva Ganesha is 100 feet. There's another Deva Ganesha who is in the position of taking rest. Even that is very huge statue, idol of Deva Ganesha is there. In Thailand, they have the local aarti and local songs in Thai language. They chant the Ganesha mantra. They also perform this puja in their local language. So Thailand is also, it's a Ganesha country, we can say that way. Now, we might have seen that during this Ganesha festival last month, there were two small video clips were viral. One was a small clip, 3-minute video, which was created by BBC London. In this video, it was shown that how this Ganesh festival is celebrated in place called Ghana. Ghana is in Africa. In Ghana, Swami Krishnananda have gone there in the year 1975. He started some ashrams. And in ashram, he started some Hindu rituals and all. And now slowly there are a few thousand Hindu devotees are there. They are local African people. But they follow all the Hindu traditions, Hindu rituals, and Hindu religion. There are around 5 or 6 such ashrams are there, and the devotees are more than 30,000. And these devotees they celebrate the Ganesh festival in a large way in almost entire all the portions of Ghana. So the movie was basically, the small clipping was on this Ghana Ganesh festival celebration. After this Swami Krishnananda, there was a local Hindu priest. His name is, local means he was African, but he was Hindu, and his name is Swami Ghanananda. So Swami Ghanananda is basically following the same tradition, rituals, and all which was set up by Swami Krishnananda. And we'll find that in Ghana there are 5 large temples are there. All these temples are run by local African Hindu devotees, and they are very proud that yes, they are Hindu. In Ghana, in Ministry of Communication, the state minister is Victoria Lakshmi. The Victoria Lakshmi is an Hindu, and she said, yes, I'm proud Hindu. So this is how the as Aditya ji has mentioned in the beginning, that yes, Hinduism is growing. Yes, that's one of the example. Another small video which was in circulation during this Ganesh festival was in Spain. It was not exactly in Spain, rather it was in Spain, but in the southern tip of Spain, which is very close to Morocco. In this Spanish video, which is basically in the Ganesh immersion procession was going on, and there's a lot of Spanish people are there, and they say, okay, can we go to the church? And there was a church. This event was in 27th August 2017, around 4 years back. So the entire procession goes to church, and church, all the Spanish people, they also pray, they also worship Deva Ganesha, and then very proudly this procession goes there. There are a lot of people in Morocco, there are a lot of people in the southern part of the Spain who are following the Hindu religion. There is a great, as I said, that there is a great wave going on in the world, and there is a major attraction towards the Hinduism worldwide. It's not only in Africa. It's not only in the part of Spain. It's not only in Morocco. It's not only in Indonesia. Because in Indonesia recently, the princess of Java province, she became Hindu last year. She herself, and Hindus are not saying that you come to our religion. People feel that yes, this religion is a religion of peace. This religion never teach us about fighting, about killing someone and all. It's a religion of peace, and that's why they try to follow the Hindu traditions, Hindu systems, Hindu religion. And yes, Lord Ganesh, Bhagwan Ganesh, Deva Ganesh is one of the symbol. So Bhagwan Ganesh, Bhagwan Krishna, Yoga, Ayurveda, these are basically the common, I should say, the symbols which are basically all people and most of people in the world are getting attracted towards it. This is the Hinduism. This is basically Hindutva, which is spreading across the world. And this time, Deva Ganesha is basically a symbol of Hindutva, which is going worldwide. So yes, Deva Ganesha is an Vaishvik Ganesh. You will find it everywhere. Deva Ganesh is there. Yes.
What a beautiful presentation, because in my last book, I quoted that Durga is worshipped everywhere. And her son is like in South America, France, Europe, ancient European deity Sarai Kali. People can search it on various forums. South France was like Ishtar. Ishtar, Inanna. Inanna is Anahita. Greeks used to call him Inanna. And so these are being all over the world. But the most of the Hindus are not even aware. Plus, we are not claiming also. One thing is we need to be aware. The whole point on these shows is we need to tell Europeans, protect South France, protect that deity. India has to stand up, and if India doesn't stand up, like we have 1.3 billion people, we need to become the global ambassadors of this Vedic culture. We need to go all over the world and claim our heritage, protect natives, because that's the whole point. And for all the viewers, buy this book, a beautiful book. And believe me, I read Sanskrit and Hindi. I speak in English because most of my audience is English speaking. In fact, Hindi shows don't go very high in our shows. So if I get more subscribers, I'll definitely speak more in Hindi. But I try my best. And we need to claim, not just we need to know. So we need to know. Now you're knowing, now it's time to claim. So thank you so much, Prashant Polji. As usual, very touchy topic and very touching to the heart as well. Touchy means to the heart, not touchy to the emotions. So thank you so much. And thank you all the viewers for watching. Do subscribe and let us know your feedback. Namaste.
Dhanyavad.